ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my channel. Today, I have the privilege of interviewing Mr. Tom Tam of the Tam Healing System, and I wanted to speak with him a little bit about how he got started and how he helps so many people, not only with Lyme disease, but so many illnesses, and what the benefit is of his healing system. Thank you, Tom, for coming on today and being part of my channel. And I'm happy to be a patient here of yours. You've helped me tremendously. So why don't you tell us a little bit and tell my viewers a little bit about how you started and some of the books you've written along the way, the many, many years of helping folks heal.
Number one, we must know why we need a new system. Doesn't matter what new system, then the kind of new system include the old way. The old way, we can go back to the psychic healing. Then not only the psychic, on the very beginning, on the human beings, healing is from the psychic. Then in China, after the psychic, then they go to use the herb. Then after the herb, then they go to use a stone to cut the body. Or they can use the animal's bone or the bamboo to stuck it into the body. This is very, very old one. But now, we wonder, in the modern time, we have the spaceship already go to the moon, but now we go back to the psychic healing, acupuncture healing, the old herb healing, all the kind of we call put the name, what we call the name. We call the alternative medicine. If your mainstream work, why we need the alternative medicine? Alternative medicine does mean when you are not work, I take your place. So that's very strange. On the modern time, we need the alternative medicine. So, but we must know what the West medicine, what the modern medicine do to the people. So the West medicine, the modern medicine, the mainstream medicine, 70% the disease, they don't know how to heal.
70% disease,
70%, they don't know what. If you don't know why you put the white jacket, necktie, tell your patient all the kind of story. Okay, I know you have the Lyme disease. Before, no Lyme disease in America, but they only have a chronic fatigue syndrome, Epstein-Barr virus. Then, why the modern medicine cannot heal it? 30 years ago, have 16 million people have the chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, Lyme. Now they call the Lyme, whatever. This means the modern medicine, the mainstream medicine is useless, helpless to take care. Why? Then they say, oh, you have a psychological problem, simple. Or then they say, oh, you have a genetic problem. So if I have a psychological, can you heal my psychological? We have so many psychiatrists, psychologists, they not resolve the problem. So this means their system, they must have the problem. So what is the problem on the modern medicine? So we need to find out. Then they say, okay, you're not work, let me work. They call the alternative medicine. But a lot of the people laughing on the alternative medicine, but nobody laughing on the mainstream medicine. So if you're useless or you're helpless, I don't care what kind of system. I don't care how many MD, PhD. I don't care your background. But we trust is the mainstream. We trust is the background. So, but we need to trust only one way, science. So on the science, then if you can heal my problem, you are my God. I don't care what church, I don't care what temple I go. So I must heal, getting healed back to my normal life. So on the science, so we need from the science talking. So it doesn't matter you use the alternative medicine or use a psychic voodoo or you use the modern, doesn't matter. Science is the standard. So on the science studying, we need to understand why 70% the disease, they don't know how to do it. So the people say, oh, come on, Tom Tam, how can the 70% come from? I say, not from my studying, from the medical studying. I ask you one thing very simple. Can the doctor heal the common cold? Common cold, so easy, so simple. But they say, no, we cannot do the common cold. I'm not talking the Lyme disease, I'm not talking the cancer. I'm not talking the HIV, I'm not talking the COVID-19 also. We just say a common cold. Okay, common cold. Then you can see the whole world, how the people do the common cold. The common thing used for healing the common cold is a cupping. The cupping in Europe, they use a cupping. In Greece, then in Russia, in England, they use it, but only in America. We laugh at, oh, come on, use the old way. So nobody go to studying why the cupping help the common cold. So we need the understanding. We need the science studying. So in the medical studying, we know in the body have two major functions. One is called the biochemical function. One is called the bioelectrical function. So in the America, in the whole world, so many biochemistry PhD. Do you see any bioelectricity PhD? Do they allow to study the bioelectricity? 1798, the bioelectricity is discovered by the Italian doctor, is a Dr. Galvani. So 1798, we already discovered the bioelectricity. Why we not allowed to do this study? Why we do not have a PhD to study the bioelectricity? So that is what the West miss. So on the West miss, you have a biochemical like a gasoline. Without the electricity, the engine, the gasoline cannot burn. But we only study the gasoline. Nobody studying the electricity. The electricity in your body, we call the bioelectricity. So if we go to find out the bioelectricity, I don't know how to spell the bioelectricity. I don't know what is a bioelectricity. I go to Google. How you found the bioelectricity? Easy way. To the Wikipedia. The Wikipedia political, they're not allowed to put the bioelectricity on. So even though the bioelectricity not allowed in Tufts Medical School, not allowed in Boston, in Harvard Medical School, including Italy, not allowed to do the research by the science or by political or by financial, we don't know. But until 2 years ago on the February, this 2019 February, finally, Dr. Michael Levin and his group finally put the bioelectricity on the Wikipedia. So what, even though the voodoo, Tonglen, anything they can on the Wikipedia, why the bioelectricity not allowed to put it in Wikipedia? That is a question. So did any drug company study the bioelectricity? Not yet. So that is what the West miss, the bioelectricity. So when we know the bioelectricity, another thing, we must know how the bioelectricity functions in the body. Then the bioelectricity function in the body, like your electricity in this room by the cable. The car, the spark plug, then they have the cable for the spark plug. Then in our body, our signal from the brain, but we need the cable to pass the bioelectricity, or you can call the biosignal. They call the biosignal, we can use a meter to detect it. We know that EKG, EEG in the body, but the funny thing is, where is the cable? So not allow or nobody do the studying to find out where is the cable. You open your car, the hood, you saw all the spark plug, the cable, but in the body, you never hear the cardio.
Tom, you mentioned bioelectricity and how it was
the nervous
discovered,
system.
and the nervous system, and it was discovered in 1700s, by the Italian doctor. Now that we understand the nervous system and the wiring of the body, which nobody really studied, you said we had PhDs in the biochemical engineering, but not in the bioelectricity. What causes the actual disease in a human being? How do you treat
Good
those
question.
diseases?
Because there's another French guy. The name is called the Om.
Oh, yes.
They have Ohm's law.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know the electricity, you must understand the Ohm's law. Ohm's law is what? I equals V divided the R. So this means the current. So the unit of the bioelectricity is the current or voltage or resistor. So this means current, voltage, and resistor. So why my current is low? Why my voltage is low? Usually, normally, it should be 70 millivolt on each cell. Then our body, the cell is a battery. Cell is a battery. We call the cell phone. Everybody knows the cell phone. Do you know the cell battery? So cell is the battery. So your cell needs to charge the battery. On the daytime, we spend our bioelectricity because we are awake, we are talk, we are active. Then at night, we need to charge the cell. So the voltage and the current of the electricity is dependent on the resistor. So the resistor high, the current will be low, the voltage may be low also. So this means we call the resistor as a blockage. So your nerve may have the pinched nerve, or the nerve have the high resistance. So when the nerve have a high resistance, we call blockage. So for example, when you have the sciatic nerve get pinched by the hernia disc, bulging disc, slip disc, by calcium deposit, by whatever. So that area pinch, they will create the high resistance. They will cause the low voltage or low current. So they no function. So they cut the pinch, and your heart, the fast, slow is controlled by the electricity also. But the question is, doesn't matter who you are. You are a cardiologist, you are a neurologist. You ask them one very simple question. Where is my heart nerve? Then you go to the hospital, never ever can hear the cardiologist say, hey, your heart nerve have a problem. They just say, oh, your heart is broken, your heart have artery, da, da, da. They give you everything. It's about the mechanical or the chemical problem. But nobody say your cable of the heart have a problem. But our heart get the signal. Where the heart signal come from? From the medulla in the brain stem. The medulla, the brain stem, we call cardiac center. You never ever hear your cardiologist say, oh, your cardiac center get in trouble. Because your cardiac center have a low voltage. Then your heartbeat need to raise. Or your oxygen going up and down, they never. So if you have the medulla problem, who you go to see? You go to see a neurologist. You are not see the cardiologist because the cardiologists do not have any knowledge, or they think it's not their job for the the cardiac center. So you never see any people with a heart problem. I go to see a neurologist. Even though you see a neurologist, say, oh, come on, you go to the wrong door. You should go to see the cardiologist. So that's why in America, the number one, the people die is the heart problem. Because the cardiologist don't know the nerve. The neurologist, they say, that's not my job either, your heart problem. So whose job? So we just say, okay, if we can find out the blockage on the nervous system, then we can heal a lot of the heart problem.
So it comes back to the blockage.
Blockage. No, going back to the blockage, because this blockage is on the nerve. So we are back to the nerve. So the nerve is a control that pass a signal for the organ.
So any issue that works holistically in the body, if you have a disease, cancer, Lyme disease,
Doesn't matter, whatever. They relate the biochemical or bioelectrical. If, okay, example, if 50-50, if you have the biochemical problem, go to see a doctor, use a chemical, they're perfect. But if you have have the nerve electricity problem, who I go to see? So 50% you already cannot heal. Because this 50 may be the nerve. You see a neurologist, I give you a pill, I'm not correct your nerve. Because my expert is the biochemical. So if I go to see the physical therapy, they know it's a muscle and the bone. You never hear the physical therapy say, oh, your heart nerve. They don't know where's the heart nerve. You go to Harvard Medical School, you go to Cambridge or wherever you go, where is my heart nerve? Not only my heart nerve, any organ's nerve.
Tom, tell us about, briefly, just a few of the success stories you've had with the heart or other organs helping people.
Okay, when we very one thing very simple on the heart, then the medulla is called the cardiac center. Medulla have a free function. They call the life center. The life center, they control the heart, lung, and the vessel. So many people have the heart. We have 4 people have a heart cancer. You never heard it, but we treat them as I said. So if the heart fast and slow, I give you a pill. You have a blood pressure up and down, I give you a pill. The pill can heal, the control the high blood pressure, but they cannot raise the blood pressure. So, but we just say, okay, we found the blockage, we found the nerve, we found the circulation to the medulla. Then correct the medulla, the heartbeat, blood pressure, the lung, and the vessel back to normal, for example. So when the people have a rosacea is the vessel problem. What can they do? Nothing. I have a very good vein is a vessel problem. Oh, I cut it out. You cut it out, but the new one will come. But nobody collected the medulla. So if I have the Raynaud's disease, cold hand, cold feet, they don't know where they come from. They from the vessel. So they cut it from the vessel. What can you do? Nothing. You just keep you warm. So they just say, so I have the low oxygen, I have a high oxygen. That is a medulla control. But no expert to consider it. Include the mainstream, include the alternative medicine. They not pay attention to the medulla.
I'm back at the Tam Healing Center today, and with me is Monica. Monica, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for being on my channel today. Monica, how long have you been coming to the Tam Healing Center?
I've been working with Tom for 19 years. I came 20 years ago for my own issues. I was a professional in the healing work. for 30 years. I work with Tom personally because I had a calcification breast tumor, and it went away. And I have other issues that also went away. And so I started coming, and then I started working with him because he offered me to work with him. So I've been working in my own practice and with him professionally since 19 years ago.
Wow, that's amazing. 19 years. Tell me how you feel Tom helps his patients and what you've learned from him.
I learned that we have a great way to heal ourselves, and we need a little bit of a tool, which we are ours way of healing. So the system of Tom is working with two ways: the nervous system and the healing part of the Asian philosophy of healing arts. So the blockage of the system is the Western medicine, and the energy healing is the other part we don't see, the salted world of quantum medicine. So we put in two form of healing together, and that's what we do. So we working on the part of the body part with some way of the stimulation. We stimulate with the needles, we stimulate it with manipulation, and that is how we work the body with a nerve system. And then we do a healing work, which is a distant part of the healing system that we don't touch. So we're doing two systems together that work perfectly, and the body then start working, start unblock themselves physically and energetic, and start healing.
So you've actually had this healing, you've had issues, and you've healed.
Right. I have many issues. We don't have enough time to talk about all my issues, but I did have a lot of issues.
And you have seen people over the almost 20 years that have had issues and have done so well.
I have seen a lot of people, and formerly and today, I have seen unseen people that doctors told them that go and get your affairs in order because it's time for you not surviving and still living happy. So
we interviewed somebody today, Julie, who had leukemia, and she's still going strong 5.5 years later after being told that.
Yeah.
So these are not unusual stories.
No, they're not.
This is a fantastic place to give hope. And of course, my book, Angels Walking With Us, is all about hope and stories of faith, hope, and miracles. There's, as you know, Monica, there's so many books out there that talk about what diet to have and what healing modalities there are, and just many other books on treatment plans, but very few on the emotional components of illness. And I'm so thrilled today that you actually came here to speak with me and share your story.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Today, I am super excited. We have a special guest with us. This is Julie. And Julie has a story to tell that I know every one of you is going to appreciate. Welcome, Julie.
Thank you, George.
It's so exciting to have you here and talk to you today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad
Tell
to be
us,
here.
tell us your story briefly. Just
Well,
simply tell us your story.
5.5 years ago, I wound up coming to Tom because I had been recently diagnosed with a deadly form of leukemia, for which they had no treatment, no cure, and they gave me 18 months to live. So for 6 months, I tried doing things my own way with nutrition and diet and meditation, and nothing seemed to help until I found Tom. And once I started coming to Tom, my platelets improved. He bought me about 15 months of time. A drug then became FDA approved, and they told me it would take 2 years to get my numbers back to normal. But because I did it in conjunction with Tom Ren, it only took 2 months. And the physician assistant that was working with me said, for what you're on and your condition, that is highly unusual. And I said, you know that difference is attributable to Tom and Tom Ren? He said, absolutely. and I've been normal ever since, which is just a blessing to be here 5.5 years later.
Praise God.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
Yes, thank God.
So, in your journey, was there ever a point before you got here where you were, was there hopelessness? Was there despair? Was there concern? Tell us how you were feeling back then.
Well, when I got the phone call from my primary care physician, I'd gone in for a checkup, just routine blood work. I wanted to get a prescription for wrinkles, actually. And she said, let's take some blood while we're here. So she called me the next morning, 7:30 in the morning. She says, your white blood cell count is off the charts. I think you have leukemia, and I'm going to have an oncologist call you that day. Fortunately, I had started meditating a week before, and I felt a sense of calmness. And by doing a certain meditation routine, I was able to keep relatively calm. And I was convinced I would beat it myself. But I remembered I'd heard about Tom from 15 years prior, and it was in the back of my mind. And luckily, I found him in time because I had no other choices.
Understand. So, the emotional components of illness are real, and you know that.
Oh, I saw it in the hospital I was at. The oncologist says, the lion's in the cage. The lion's going to come out of the cage, guaranteed, but we'll try to keep it at bay as long as we can. So then, anytime I called in and spoke to the nurse, it's like she was parodying the doctor. The lion's in the cage, and I'd get off the phone and I'd be shaking. I'd go and do some meditation. It would calm me down, but it's the emotional component is the worst part.
Of course it is. Tell us when you came to Tom and what he said to you those very first sessions.
Well, my husband Bobby knows. You're a pain on the neck. Boom. Remember that, Tom? So it was quite fascinating because I had gone to, and I don't even know if I've told you this, Tom. Before I came to Tom, I'd gone to a chiropractor who has helped me for 10 years previous. And when he heard I had the leukemia and he saw my numbers, my white blood cell count was off the chart. He said, your thymus is bad and your spleen is bad. After doing 2 sessions of acupuncture, I went back to him for testing, and he tested me and he shook his head. I'd seen him twice. He said the same thing, your thymus and spleen, here's more pills. I was taking 70 supplements a day.
How many?
70.
Wow.
And then Tom says, stop all the garbage, it's hurting your kidneys. So I stopped everything. But after 2 sessions of acupuncture, I went back to him and he tested me 3 times. And he said, this isn't the same person I saw 2 weeks ago. What have you done? I said, Tom Wren and Tom Tam. Amazing. He said my thymus was perfect and my spleen was perfect. 2 weeks later, when I'd gone twice to him, and he said, you're in big trouble. So really amazing.
Julie, you are a walking miracle.
Thank
and
you.
This is a tribute to Tom Wren Healing and Tom Wren Therapy. I can't thank you enough for you sharing your personal story with all of our viewers out there to let them know that there is hope.
Oh my God, there's hope. And we've gone, I've brought Tom, I've been on WBZ Radio, Nightside with Dan Ray. I've done 4 radio shows with him just because I felt so strongly about sharing this with the world, and finally convinced Tom to come on with me a couple times. And we also did a show with Bradley J. So we've been on national radio 5 times in the last couple of years.
Mm.
So Julie, I know now you're at another level. Tell us about Tom and the super consonant treatment that he is doing for you.
Well, the super consciousness treatment that I received remotely, which is what I find so interesting, that you can actually feel these benefits over the air. My husband, Bob, he's like if you look at his hands in any Tom Wren class, here or at home, his hands will be red like a tomato from the energy. He's so sensitive. But he tried this new super consciousness where he was working on metabolism, because Tom believes that cancer is a metabolic function as opposed to an immune function.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was really working a lot on the metabolism this week. And I'm usually pretty cold, and so even when Bobby hugs me, I'm like, oh, warm me up. And he gave me a hug a couple times at night. He says, you are radiating heat. And it was constant. It wasn't just like a hormonal thing. He says, you're radiating heat. And I said, it must be from the super consciousness and what Tom was working with metabolism.
We hear that a lot. I hear that a lot from many of the patients and a lot of the folks that come either to the classes or remotely, because of course, these classes and Tom are seen around the world. There's folks in every continent that watch him and receive the benefit of his healing. So, Julie, I cannot thank you enough for you sharing your story. We have a shared heritage.
We do.
And it's just fantastic to meet you. You are a walking miracle.
And I hope to stay that way for many years so I can keep helping people. I've passed this on to so many people, and that's all, it's all about people helping people. And so, with a very cost-effective way and effective. Yeah.
Like I've taught my children, the greatest thing you can do on this earth is help somebody else.
Yes, high five to that.